excited to talk about removing roadblocks with human-centered accessibility. So we're going to continue on with our Lunch and Learn series about the human touch needed by technology. And we're going to talk heavily about digital accessibility today, which is very, very important to us here at CCIT and at Dell Tech in general. So first of all, before we get into this, I want to introduce myself. My name is Amanda Hooper Alcaraz. I am an educational technologist at CCIT, and I'm really, really excited to talk about digital accessibility. It's actually something I didn't know a lot about when I first started this role, but I've learned so much and why it's so important to everything we do here at Dell Tech. And then I'm also going to be assisted today by my colleague, Christina. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Sure, I'm Christina Scheppel. I'm also an ed tech with CCIT, and I'll be talking about video captions at the end of the session.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited for that. So before we get into our demos and all of our cool stuff, I want to ask a question. What comes to mind when you hear the phrase accessibility in education? So you can unmute yourself or you can drop something in the chat, but I'm curious what you think accessibility in education means.
I think it means being inclusive, like giving everybody, regardless of any demographic, the ability to have that education in a format that kind of is best for them.
I love that. Yes, Jack, inclusivity. That's absolutely a huge tenet of accessibility. We want to make sure everybody's included regardless of ability. Yeah, thank you. Let me see the chat here. Ali said ensuring that every student can fully participate and learn, no matter their needs or circumstances, and removing barriers. I love that, removing barriers, yes. And that's something we have the power to do as educators and as content creators. And Christina said everyone can learn without needing to jump through the extra hoops. I think sometimes we forget folks with disabilities do have to jump through extra hoops, and that's exhausting. It puts the burden on the person with a disability. And Kelly said available to all. Yes, we want to include as many people as possible when we're talking about accessibility. And April said access, yes, and customization. I love the customization because not everybody has the same disability, and accessibility can look different for each person. So today we're going to go through some accessibility principles. Very quickly, we're not going to get too deep into that because I'm really excited about the demos. So I'm going to demo some accessibility checkers for you, and I'm going to demo a screen reading software called NVDA. And then Christina is going to demo some video captioning tools for you. So we've got a lot to do in a little bit of time. So the first thing I want to talk about are those accessibility principles. I want to say first that accessibility isn't a checklist. It can look like a checklist depending on what we're doing, but overall, it's a way of ensuring that every student can engage fully with your course and you as the instructor. And accessibility is not only helpful for students with disabilities, it's helpful for all students. Video captioning, for instance, is of course necessary for folks who have hearing impairments, but it can also be helpful to a student who is watching the video content in a public place without headphones. Keyboard navigation is another example. That's really helpful for someone who doesn't have the physical ability to maneuver a mouse, but it might also be helpful to someone whose mouse is just temporarily broken. So when we're using technology to create content for students, we have to consider the actual humans who are using that technology and the limitations those humans might have.
What you see here on your screen is a real incorrect auto-generated caption from a previous Lunch and Learn. Some of you have seen me do this bit before, but I haven't shared this one yet. So what I would like you to do in the chat, I'd like you to guess, what do you think the underlined part should say? So the underlined part did show up in asterisks because the program I used to generate my captions censored what Laura had said. And I will give you a hint. What she said was not profanity like the AI thought it was. So take a minute. Another hint is it was 3 letters. What do we think that auto-generated caption that is underlined should say? sad. Oh, that's close. Allie's close. Bad, also close. So the closest guess was sad. I'll go ahead and show us. So what Laura had actually said was sob stories. The takeaway here is that if I had left this auto-generated caption alone, someone with the video without the audio would have come away with an incorrect understanding of what was said. I don't know what understanding they would have come away with.
They would have had the understanding that I went off the rails and said something I shouldn't have said is what they would have had.
Yeah, maybe more people would have been interested in coming to Lunch and Learns. Like, oh, wow. It's getting
Christina
crazy.
theorized that it might have read it as SOB stories, which in some situations people might consider that not appropriate.
Yeah.
But sob is a real word. It really, really is. And that's what I really said.
So before I share a captioning tool, here are some general guidelines. First and foremost, obvious but needs to be said, videos we share with students need to be captioned. The best way to ensure this happens is to be proactive. So choose a recording platform that's going to auto-generate captions for you. And I'm going to give a suggestion in just a minute if you're not sure where to start. Finally, as we just saw, while auto-generated captions have come a long way and they're really accurate now, they still need to be edited to ensure accuracy. So there are many ways to record and caption a video, and what I'm showing is just one example. As long as you get a video to students that has captions in it, that's all that matters in the end. But what I would recommend is using Clipchamp. So if you are not familiar with it, Clipchamp is a program that is included with our Microsoft 365 subscription, meaning as a Delaware Tech employee, you already have it. You don't need to download or install anything else. Since it is a paid product, you're not going to run into paywalled features like you will with some other screencasting tools. If you've ever recorded a video before, the interface is going to look very familiar. It is easy to use once you figure out where the buttons are. It will allow you to trim videos, stitch recordings together, so you don't need to get everything perfect in one take. And finally, and most importantly for our purposes today, it will allow you to generate captions that are pretty accurate from the start. This is one of those features that makes it stand out from something like ScreenPal, and this is not any hate to ScreenPal. I've been using ScreenPal since it was Screencast-O-Matic. But because we do not have that paid subscription, ScreenPal will not auto-generate captions for you. Clipchamp will, and it pretty much does the same things. The buttons are just in different places. There are two ways to get to Clipchamp. One is through the portal. So on the portal, I'm going to go under General Apps. And right here, there is a link to Office 365. What this will take me to is all of the browser-based versions of the 365 apps, and Clipchamp is right here. So when I select Clipchamp, it will bring me to some of my recent videos, some things that were shared with me, and it will also allow me to upload, to start a screen recording, to record my camera, all of those good things. What I personally prefer is I prefer to use the desktop version. I'm just going to click my search bar, and I'm going to start typing Clipchamp, or trying to at least. I'm not good at multitasking. And you'll see it will pop up. So if you're using a Mac, you can use the browser-based version. If you're using a Windows computer, again, it's one of the Microsoft products. It will pop up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and let the desktop version open. One of the reasons I prefer it is because it's a little bit more straightforward. Here is where you would start if you want to start from scratch. It says blank video. Here's where you would start if you want to pull up something you've accessed before. You can see I use this a lot. So I'm going to open something I've already recorded. That way we can talk about captions. So here you can see my project. I have some video in the timeline. If you are starting from scratch, in the top left is the record and create button. So from here, you can choose to record your screen and camera, just your screen. It will work very similar to any recording tool you have already used. So let's imagine you've already recorded that video. When you're ready to generate your captions, we want to click this button in the top right that says transcript, and it will pop out a menu that gives you a button to generate a transcript. So I'm not going to click that button right now because it's going to take a minute or so to actually generate the transcript. How long it takes will depend on how long your video is, but that's all you need to do. I'm going to switch real quick to one where I already have the transcript generated. So let's imagine I clicked it. And here we go. So here we can see the transcript that's generated. And you can see, I know it's very small on my screen right now, but you can see it is pretty smart. It's capitalizing Delaware Tech. It's capitalizing Microsoft Office. It's including punctuation. You're not going to have to do a lot of work here. If you do need to do some work, I'm going to skip to the part where I know there's a mistake. Down here it says, let's take a look at the book classes am I taking module. No, it's not supposed to say book. It's supposed to say what? If I click on this word, it will give me an option to edit the text and I can fix it right here. Sometimes for longer videos, I like opening things in Word and editing them there, but there's no reason why you can't edit right here in this interface. Honestly, it's because I like to zoom in. That's my accessibility need. When you're done to download this file, you can click the three-dot menu and then download as SRT, and that will download right to your computer. To download your video, avoid this very tempting button here that says share, because what that will share is your Clipchamp project. Now, this might be really useful if you want to collaborate on a project with someone, but we're going to export the video so it will save to your computer. You can change the title. Don't store it in the cloud because we want to upload it somewhere else, and I'll explain why in a minute. And again, I'm not going to click the export button because it will take a few minutes to export, but once it's all done, you can save that video file directly to your computer. For sharing, we're going to recommend, again, it doesn't matter as long as you get students that video with captions. We're going to recommend sharing with YouTube though for a few reasons. First is that for most of us, we want to embed that video either in Brightspace or directly on a web page. If you were to share a Google link or a OneDrive link with students, you wouldn't be able to embed the video directly in the page. Students would have to click the link, open in a new tab, and they may not want to do that. That's an extra click for them. Embedded YouTube videos in Brightspace also will not play ads, which is a benefit. Someone had asked about that previously, and it hadn't dawned on me that if they are in Brightspace, the ads are going to be avoided. The other reason YouTube is beneficial is because it allows you to share with that anyone with the link privacy. Microsoft doesn't have that option, and Google does, but again, you know, it can't be embedded, so it's not always what we want. Finally, YouTube is going to allow you to upload that edited caption file. YouTube will auto-generate captions for you. However, they are not the best. Microsoft is much better. So instead of having to tinker with bad YouTube auto-generated captions, we can pull the ones that were pretty good right from Clipchamp. So I have signed into YouTube with my Dell Tech Google account. If you've never signed in before, it will ask you to create a channel name. It can just be your name. You can change it later. It's just something it will ask you to do. But once you're signed in, you will have this button that says create. And I'm going to go ahead and upload a video. Very easy upload. You can drag and drop your file, or you can click select files. I'm going to select my video. It'll take a minute. And from here, you can edit all of the information. Again, this will not be public on the internet because there's a way that I'll show you that it's only people who you choose can see this. But there are two things you need to do to move on. The first is you need to select your audience, and this is to comply with online privacy laws. It will ask you, is this made for kids or not? Generally speaking, our videos will not be made for kids. If you are not sure and want to double check, there is a link here you can click for more information. The other thing it will ask, if we want to generate our captions, is down here, we need to specify the language. Sometimes it will do it for you. This time it has not. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to clarify that this is English. I'll select next, and this is where I can add my subtitles. So right here, there's a button that says upload file, and I already have that file done that I've edited. I'm going to select with timing because yes, it does come with those timestamps. and I had downloaded it, so I'm going to pull it right from my downloads folder. And you can see now it has added the captions to the video. I can still edit them here if I want. I can break them up if I think they're too long, but they are going to be much more accurate than the ones YouTube would generate itself. I'll hit save and done, and my subtitles are there. And then our last step is visibility. If you want that anyone with the link privacy, so it's not open to the internet as a whole, select unlisted, and then you can embed it in your Brightspace courses, in your web pages, or wherever you'd like. Link is right there. If you want the embed link, you can go to the video page itself and select that.
So I am just going to show you guys a demo. NVDA is called Non-Visual Desktop Access. It's a free program. And it's one of a few screen readers on the market. Another popular one is JAWS, but that you do have to pay for access to that. Some Microsoft programs and Mac programs have their own built-in screen readers, and it really just depends on what the user wants, like what sort of experience they want. So I downloaded NVDA to kind of test accessibility out. It's operated with a keyboard. So you don't need your mouse to use NVDA. And it has special keys to help navigate pages and programs. And it definitely has a learning curve. I've used it for about a year, and I'm nowhere near close to unlocking the secrets of NVDA. But what's really struck me is that people who use screen readers become very, very proficient at this. So what I'm going to do is show you how NVDA navigates a Word doc. I'm not going to show you the Word doc yet. So I want you to just listen to NVDA as it reads the Word doc for you. So see if you can understand what this Word doc is saying and what it might look like.
Document print layout page 1 section 1 digital accessibility overview. Digital accessibility ensures that all people can perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with digital content, regardless of ability, period. To help assess accessibility, we can use 4 principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust left parenthesis, poor right parenthesis, period. These 4 principles form the foundation of the web. Content accessibility guidelines left parenthesis, WCAG right parenthesis, and provide a roadmap for designing content that works for everyone, period. Graphic selected picture 1.
All right, so I'm not going to continue to go with NVDA because it's a lot to listen to. One thing that NVDA does is you cannot make it read main content. So every time you get to a new page, it's going to start reading from left to right from the very top. If the mouse moves, NVDA is going to read whatever that mouse is on top of. So as you move from screen to screen, it's going to start reading every little component of the page. So it's when you're starting off with keyboard navigation, you have to remember you're starting in the top left corner, and then it reads it sort of like a book from there. So as you can see, folks who use screen readers have to kind of visualize what the screen reader is telling them, and that can be really, really tricky. Think about a student who is in a math class who needs to read a graph. You know, you have to rely on a good, very good alt text so that that student can understand what that graph is saying. So I also want to show you how a screen reader navigates a D2L page. All right, so it would start up here at the right and read every single one of these icons first. And I'm not going to make you sit through that. It would read all of these lists and all of these breadcrumbs before getting to the main content. So let me start that back up again.
Okay, what is an LMS? What is an LMS question? Banner for what is a learning management system. Banner for what is a learning management system. Main landmark clickable button collapsed L. Graphic banner for what is a learning management system. Heading level 1 what is a learning management system question? A learning management system left parenthesis, LMS right parenthesis, is software that is designed specifically to create, What banner for what is alert? Pause. What is
So
how
that's
do I
just
learn
an
more about
idea of
using D2L
how
question?
it is going to navigate
Exit
a D2L
NVDA
page. So it's
dialog.
navigating
What
from
would you
the top left all the way down, and it's going to read every single banner, every single image. So every piece of content that you put on one of your D2L Brightspace pages, we have to be really considerate of how folks are going to be navigating that with these assistive technologies. Because even though we can see the page and we have an idea of how it should function, the person using a screen reader might have a completely different experience of that page. Can you think of any content in your course that might present a barrier to a student using a screen reader?
Like an Ed puzzle? I don't know.
Yeah, Ed Puzzle can be a little difficult because it's video and then you have the questions. So a good thing would be to have a text-based alternative to that if we could. Something where the screen reader would be able to read all the captions and then read the answers or read the questions and the answers. So yeah, Ed Puzzle can be really difficult with a screen reader. So now I want to get a little deeper into accessibility checkers. Accessibility checkers are our friend. We love them. They're very easy to use and they're all over the place. You just have to know where to find them. So they're built-in digital tools that automatically scan documents, web pages, and course materials to identify those potential barriers for people with disabilities. And they're going to do really important things like highlight missing alt text, identify low color contrast, improper heading structures, and they sometimes provide guidance to help you fix those issues. And what I really love about accessibility checkers is that they help you identify these issues pretty easily and early on in that design process. And they quickly scan content so you don't have to manually review every single element. And so you don't have to memorize any WCAG standards because that's sort of impossible. And they help improve learning for everyone. It ensures the content works well for all students, including ones using screen readers. And it's promoting inclusive design from the start. It also helps you as the instructor save some time because they're very quick. And it kind of helps you build confidence because you are able to make accessible choices without needing a lot of deep technical expertise. It is important to note that accessibility checkers are not perfect. They still need human intervention. For instance, a checker might tag a banner as needing alternative text. But you might know that the banner is actually decorative. So you can just check it as decorative and the screen reader doesn't need to read it. Maybe it just doesn't add to the learning context. So I'm going to show you 3 different accessibility checkers. We're going to start with one in D2L Brightspace. I'm going to show you one in Microsoft Word. And then finally an accessibility checker add-on for Google Docs. So this is just a very basic page in D2L Brightspace. And I'm going to show you how to get to the accessibility checker first. You're going to go down to this little drop-down menu and edit HTML to get into your HTML editor. And what you're going to look for is this little symbol right here at the top of the editor, the accessibility checker symbol. It's sort of an international symbol at this point. So you're just going to press it, and it's automatically going to scan that page and bring up some issues. What I really love about the D2L accessibility checker is that it offers remediation solutions right there in the checker. So for instance, this one says, okay, this paragraph, welcome, right here, looks like a heading. So if it is a heading, we just have to select the heading level. So I'll do that, select heading level 1, it repairs it, done. So this is also saying we have another heading issue. I'm going to ignore that for now, another heading issue. And then it also caught this little orange symbol down here, and it's saying that we have to mark it as decorative or have alternative text. So I'm just going to mark this one as decorative, which means the screen reader won't even read it. And then we hit repair. So super simple, and we really encourage you that as you're building or you're modifying pages in D2L, please use that accessibility checker. It will catch things early for you. And like I said, you don't have to have a lot of expertise to start making your pages accessible. So here's that document we used earlier. And it's really easy to get to the Microsoft Word Accessibility Checker. This is built into the desktop version. So you're going to hit Review, and right at the top is Accessibility Checker. Okay. So this one also offers you remediation right in the checker. So it's saying, okay, there's some hard to read text contrast here. So I'm going to click on that, and it highlights where on the page the issue is, and it gives you an option for remediation. So it's saying try one of these 3 colors. I'll pick the middle one. So now that color is a little bit easier for someone with low visibility to see. The next one is saying missing alt text. We knew there was missing alt text for this image, so I'm just going to write poor here. That's not very good descriptive alt text, but that's the one I'm going to use here. So it does offer you the ability to remediate right here in the checker. So otherwise, it's saying that this document is good. However, I, the human, know that there are some other accessibility issues in this document. So for instance, I see that this link is not a descriptive link. A screen reader will literally read every single letter on this link. It will say HTTPS, blah, blah, blah. So we want to make sure the link is descriptive, that it'll say digital accessibility website instead of this long link. However, our checker did not pick that up. So that's a good example of why we need the human behind this type of technology. All right. This is my basic Google Doc with a cute kitten here. So the thing with Google Docs is it doesn't have a native accessibility checker in it. You actually have to download an extension called Grackle. That's one, there's many accessibility checkers. That's the one we tend to use here at CCIT. If you don't know how to download an extension, you've never done that before maybe, that's okay. You can ask one of us at CCIT to help you, or contact one of us directly or put in a ticket. So when you download that extension, it shows up here under Extensions, under Grackle Docs, and we're going to launch it. Now this one takes a little bit longer. Even though this is a really short document, it kind of tells you when it's done. So it's saying 21 of 22 checks passed. This has identified that this image needs alternative text. It's showing that we don't have a good heading structure, that headings should be used and properly nested. It's telling us that headers and footers should be used on the page. It's telling us right here that high color contrast should be used. So that's probably this guy right here. So as you can see, this one isn't as easy to use or interpret as the Microsoft Word Accessibility Checker. It's not offering us the ability to remediate in the checker. So you do have to understand when it's saying high color contrast should be used, you kind of have to go through the document and find where that color contrast issue is. So Grackle Docs is really helpful though for just starting out checking accessibility for your Google Docs. Thinking about everything that we've learned today, you've learned a lot about captioning. We've demoed the screen reader. We've looked at different accessibility checkers. What's one small change that you can make this week that will help your students?
I'll share one that came up in conversation with Jen. We had talked about how sometimes we will provide a link and then underneath the link there will be an image and we also link the image. Thinking about how that screen reader reads everything, we've realized with guidance from some outside sources as well, that for someone using a screen reader, they're going to read the link and then they're going to hear the link repeated when it gets to the image. So just being more conscious of not repeating things back to back. It's unnecessary and it's also going to hinder understanding for students who are experiencing content in a different way.
Yes, that's a really good point. It's really nice when you have an image that is also a link, but you're right, we do have to consider how a screen reader or assistive technologies are going to interpret that. And it will read the link letter by letter. It'll give you the image and the alternative text and then read the link out to you. And yes, that's a huge burden on someone using a screen reader.
And I did read instead they recommend like you can still keep the link in the image, but it's just kind of like you would highlight both the image and the original text that you'd want to use. So that way that whole area just becomes one giant link. So both cited if they click on the link or the image, or those using like NVDA, etc., they'll just hear it once. So it'll work for both. It's just, something we didn't realize.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just being intentional, right? When we're creating this type of content. It's stuff we don't always think about, but we do have to be intentional when we are doing something as small as creating a link. And Ali said in the chat that she's definitely going to use Clipchamp instead of ScreenPal for any videos. Yes, we love Clipchamp. It is fantastic and so much easier to use than ScreenPal. So Laura is dropping a link in the chat for the CCIT Digital Accessibility website. Christina just redid that part of our website, and it is fantastic. It talks about the faculty 5, which are 5 easy things that you can do to make sure that your content is accessible. And if you have any other questions about digital accessibility, you can contact any one of us here at CCIT.